You do not need to add square footage to a room to make it feel bigger.
Welcome to the Imperfectly Empowered podcast with leading DIY lifestyle blogger Anna Fulmer to reclaim their hearts and homes by empowering transformation, one imperfect day at a time.
Today, we're going to talk about 13 cost-effective design ideas to make small rooms look bigger and transform your home into a relaxing, spacious retreat. As many of you know, we just recently wrapped up the renovation in our current fixer-upper in the basement. We have sold this home. I'm still currently sitting in the home as I am recording this, but it is under contract. I will be out of here shortly. But this basement renovation, I had to employ all of my design tips and tricks to make it feel spacious yet functional as possible. It is just about as small as you can really get in order to finish a basement and consider it finished square footage. So a lot of these tips played into this current renovation, but I am going to give you lots of examples of ways that I have implemented these design ideas over our last several house projects. As a side note, if you click on the link in the YouTube description, if you're watching on YouTube, or if you are listening via your preferred podcast platform, you definitely want to check out the show notes, the blog post. There is tons and tons of before and after pictures, as well as links to resources and products that will help you implement these design ideas. Let's start talking about these cost-effective design tips. You do not need to add square footage. Here we go. Tip number 1 to make small rooms look bigger. Convert a standard closet into an open concept design. Convert a standard closet into an open concept design. This idea can be implemented in multiple areas of the house. I'm going to give you a couple examples. In this current home, in the master bedroom, we took a standard closet, knocked out the divider in between. It was like a standard bifold door double closet. We knocked out the divider, opened it up from floor to ceiling, and then we framed it with antique barn beams and then installed a custom closet system. We made this concept a little more complicated than you need to. But the reason that this is cost effective is you are ultimately adding square footage visually that already exists. Similarly to knocking out walls, right? Knocking out walls is not even on this list. And that is because it is obvious, right? Obvious. I want to give you things that you may have never thought of. And you definitely want to read / listen / watch to the end for my number 1 tip. But this one visually adds square footage that already exists without having to pay to actually add square footage. Simply by knocking out the walls and creating an open concept design will add visual height, depth, width. It will make a space feel bigger. Another place that we have done this twice now in 2 different homes is we have knocked out a closet in a hallway and created an open concept design. We did this same thing at our second fixer-upper as we did here. But what we did in this current house is there was a hallway closet that was, oh my goodness, it was probably 24 inches deep, 18 to 24 inches deep, maybe 20. The point is we made it more shallow. I installed a pull-out pantry behind it. And then we built a wall on the other side and created an open concept drop zone. So there's baskets along one side. There are hooks for jackets, backpacks. The baskets hold shoes, hats. When we had babies, it was our diaper changing station. So the idea is this: take an existing closet and either build something into it, like we did, a pull-out pantry, and gave ourselves tons more storage in our kitchen, or just simply open it up. And if it's a deeper closet, consider creating a 3-sided open concept design. This is what we did in our second fixer upper, meaning there are hooks on all 3 sides of the closet in this particular home. And the picture that is included in the show notes is of this house where we actually made this closet more shallow and just used it for hooks, coats, etc. Tip number 2, create vertical storage with floating shelves. One of the simplest design ideas is to think vertically. This is true of a kitchen. This is true of very nearly any room. To make it feel bigger is build up. Vertical storage provides a focal point that draws the eye upward and also opens up the floor, making small rooms feel larger. A side note, make sure to neatly arrange decor items on shelves for added visual appeal, and consider baskets, different ways to make that storage look more aesthetically pleasing. One example of this in this current home, when we were looking at putting an entertainment center in the family room, we knocked out walls, did the whole opening it up thing, but any entertainment furniture was going to be way too big in the space. So what we did is we built in a corner cabinet for our TV. There are doors at the bottom for storage, and there are shelves for, we don't even use DVDs anymore. Isn't that crazy? Like, even when we built this, we were still using a DVD player, and now we're really not. But there is a speaker, there's a portable speaker that sits on that shelf. The point is this: we built vertical storage into the corner to keep the floor plan more open. Corner storage, vertical corner storage especially, will help keep a room feel bigger because those corners often end up being empty space. This concept works really well in any order, in any area of the home. Like I said, this is what we did in the family room. In a living room, consider creating floating shelves for toy and book storage, and leave the least used items on the top shelf. Your stuff that still needs stored somewhere, but the stuff that you don't use as frequently, consider putting it on the top shelf. Be sure to click on the link again that's included in the show notes for some TV stand corner storage ideas. Another place that we used this design concept was in our master bedroom. I am a lover of shoes. I can't deny it. First world problem, 100%. I have too many shoes. I very routinely try to purge and give away shoes. I do love shoes. I'm not much of a fashionista, but I have always been a shoe lover. So I have vertical shoe storage. I built in a vertical shoe shelf, floor to ceiling, in our open concept closet. But I also built floating shelves, hung floating shelves on my bedroom wall for my boots. What's nice about this is that you can space your floating shelves exactly as you need to in order to provide the right height for your boots. I happen to use 150-year-old barn beams, the same barn beams that we framed the open concept closet with. But this could apply to anything. You could put folded pants, you could put folded shirts, you could put purses, really anything you want. Get it off the floor and put it on vertical floating shelves. Tip number 3, add a large light colored area rug to make a small room look bigger. The rug design idea goes both ways, and I'm going to give you some examples of how this can go a couple ways. So not only can a well-chosen area rug add a stylish accent, but it can ground a room while also making it appear bigger. In order to optimize this open sense of space, choose a rug that has lighter colors as opposed to darker, as darker colors will make a room feel smaller, albeit cozier. So if you have a really, really big room, super light, bright, and airy, it might actually help ground the space to choose a large area rug that is darker, that has maybe bolder tones to help ground the sitting area. We kind of did this in our last basement. It was a 1,000 square foot basement in our second fixer upper. And there was an entertainment area where there was a TV and a sectional sofa. We put a large light colored rug there to help define that space. But arguably, a rug in this case does not help a room feel bigger, right? Because it's already a massive room. It just helped define that particular area. In our master bedroom, however, the floor is stained dark. As a side note, if you need help choosing the best farmhouse style wood floor stain, highly recommend that you visit the blog, search floor stain. This is one of the most visited posts of my entire website. And this particular flooring color combination is on there. That's what prompted that post in the first place, but it is a darker floor stain. The light colored rugs in our bedroom actually help to brighten up the room because of the dark wood flooring. And there was a lot of open floor space in the master bedroom. Now, our girls' room, there's 2 twin beds in this room. It's cozy. It's cozy. Our girls share a room, and it's not a super big bedroom, and it's the same color floor stain as the master bedroom. I originally had a light rug running down the center of their room between the 2 beds. Interestingly, in this case, I ended up removing the rug, and it instantly made the room feel bigger. But here is the difference between the 2 rooms. Our master bedroom had a lot more of the open, dark floor space. The lighter, large rug in our master bedroom actually made it feel bigger and lighter. In the girls' room, however, there's not that much exposed floor, and their bedroom is already lighter and brighter because of the white shiplap on the walls, their white bedspreads, their white beds, their white dresser. So it already felt a little bit bigger. By adding one more thing to the floor, it actually made it feel a little bit smaller. So I'm kind of giving you 2 examples here. With the rugs, you just have to see the room, assess the space, but that's an example of the difference in the 2 bedrooms and how one, adding the rug made it feel bigger, lighter. The other one actually made it feel a little bit cramped. Hopefully that helps as you assess a room and determine, would a rug make this room feel bigger or more cramped? Tip number 4, how to make small rooms look bigger. Tip number 4 is remove everything from the walls except one statement piece. If a room is exceptionally large, then one of the easiest ways to make that space feel cozier is to add a large picture wall. In the opposite manner, however, if you have a smaller room, you want to assess your wall space and take a look and consider how much is actually hanging on the wall. Removing decor from the wall can make a small space feel larger and more open. A great way to start when you assess your walls and you have a blank wall, choose one eye-catching statement piece to highlight, one piece of wall art, and remove everything else. If you can't choose just one piece, say you have, 3 kids like we do, try to arrange pictures in oddly numbered groups, preferably in groups of 3. This is a design rule that you will see pretty much in any design tip resource on the web, World Wide Web. But the bottom line is you want to arrange items in groups of 3 or 5. Let me give an example of this. Let's say you have 2 kids and you want to adhere to the groups of 3 rule. here's one of the things that you could do. Put one large, what is it? 16 by 24. I'm actually looking at it right now. 16 by 24 is not right. I don't remember what the actual dimension is, but a bigger picture of the entire family. And then add an 11 by 14 on one side of your kid. And then kid number 2, an 11 by 14 on the other side. So you've got one large family picture in the middle, and then one slightly smaller picture of each kid on either side. Again, I'm staring at our family picture wall, and we have one large family picture of us. And then we currently have 3 children, but we are adopting our 4th. So I then have the 2 photos on either side, and our 4th child, our son who's coming through adoption, I have a picture of the Samoan flag, because that is where we're adopting from, the Pacific Island of Samoa. So in this case, I've arranged a wall in a group of 5. If you're going to do 2 pictures on a wall, I recommend either putting them directly over top of each other or slightly off centering them, meaning you would do one here and then one slightly off to the side, evenly spaced on the wall. My point is this: too much on the wall can make it feel cluttered and smaller. Cluttered and smaller. Over beds, I recommend one piece of wall art. In this current bedroom, we have a shadow box with my bouquet from our wedding. And then we have a candle sconce on either side. Again, note, groups of 3. The girls each have one piece of wall art above their bed. Caleb, his bed is up against a pallet wall, so he just has one like navy anchor hanging beside his bed. Groups of 3, one large statement piece, or a group of 5 is the general rule of thumb. Tip number 5. Install sheer curtains 4 inches from the ceiling. One of the easiest ways to make a small room feel bigger, not to mention brighter, and give it a whole new feel, is to install sheer curtains and raise the curtain rod almost to the ceiling. I am telling you, it will instantly elevate the look of a room and make it feel bigger. A standard recommendation is to install your curtain rod 4 inches from the ceiling. Sheer curtains allow more light to come through, more natural daylight to come through, and they also still provide a barrier, meaning this: if you're really antsy about people being able to look into your house and you really want to have a curtain, I recommend a semi-sheer curtain. When you're standing outside looking in, it's very, very difficult to see through semi-sheer curtains. As opposed to like a true sheer, you're still going to be able to see through even from outside. A semi-sheer, however, is not as easy to see through and still provides a lot more light coming into your room. Try to stick to lighter, neutral colors for your curtains. And again, consider a sheer material to help the space feel more airy. I included in the show notes, hammersandhugs.com, or in the description here on YouTube, I linked my very, very favorite semi-sheer curtains. They kind of have a faux linen appearance. And I will definitely use these again when we build. They're the perfect, they add a little bit of color. They're not a true white, but they have a semi-sheer material. I absolutely love them. They're from Wayfair. I have linked them. There's pictures of them also on the notes or on the blog post. Tip number 6, how to make small rooms look bigger. Eliminate clutter with more efficient storage. We've already talked about vertical storage, but there are other ways to add creative storage to your house. When I say other ways, I mean, the list goes on and on. We could probably do a separate podcast just on organization ideas, but eliminating clutter is one of the easiest ways to make your home feel bigger. Less is more. Consider creative storage solutions to add visual appeal and practical utility, such as floating shelving, like we talked about, under bed storage boxes. So our current bed, the sides come really low to the ground. And I think we only have 5 inches of clearance. And I found these really awesome, huge, flat, like zip up storage boxes that we have put under our bed. You could put sweaters in these. You could put clothing, really of any kind, belts, accessories. In ours, we actually have personal items, yearbooks, keepsakes that Zach wanted. He has some on his side. I have some on my side. But don't forget about storage underneath the bed. Wall baskets. I keep my hair dryer and hairspray and stuff like that on a basket that I mounted on the wall beside my dresser to actually eliminate clutter from the top of my dresser. This would also be a great idea in a bathroom. We have hanging mason jars from a piece of reclaimed wood that, again, we try to keep the clutter off of the sink top. Custom design closet systems. So many ways to get creative about storage. But again, notice everything that I mentioned, with the exception of the under the bed storage, a lot of it is vertical, right? It's utilizing that vertical space. And of course, you can try to make it look pretty. My basket beside my dresser is not particularly pretty, but it's very effective and it keeps clutter off of my dresser. Tip number 7. Huge difference with this tip and relatively cost effective. Paint the walls a lighter, brighter color. Color psychology has been well studied and offers a great way to promote a sense of joy, rest, and well-being, but they also make a significant difference in the sense of space. Now, I mentioned painting the walls, and the color examples I'm going to give you are paint, but the same thing is true of wallpaper. Maybe you're a big wallpaper fan. I actually am a wallpaper fan. I love texture. I am not just a painted walls kind of a girl. But this same concept is true of wallpaper as well. Consider lighter and also consider simpler patterns or patterns that are bigger, that leave a lot of light space in the wallpaper. The overall tone of the wallpaper should be lighter if the goal is to make a room feel bigger and airier. When you look at it, it should appear light to you. Shades of white, light gray or blue, light greens, or yellow can really help brighten and lighten a space, making it feel bigger. Let me give you a couple paint colors. The list goes on, but 2 of my favorite white paint colors are Simply White by Benjamin Moore and Alabaster by Sherwin-Williams. These are both slightly warmer white. Simply White is a truer white than Alabaster. Simply White is also what we have done all of our trim in. Light gray blue paint colors, Agreeable Gray and Silver Strand by Sherwin-Williams. For reference, both of our basements were painted in Silver Strand. It is one of my favorite colors. It is light, bright, airy. It leans anywhere from gray to blue to green. It is an incredibly versatile color, and it is, in my opinion, perfect for a basement. Obviously, we've used it twice, and I'm a huge fan of it. My favorite green paint is Sea Salt by Sherwin-Williams. It's a really pretty foamy green. Does that make sense? I don't even know why that came to mind, but it's a really, really pretty light grayish green, and it can even pull a little bit of blue. Yellow paint color ideas include Philadelphia Cream by Benjamin Moore and Morning Sun by Sherwin-Williams. I have not personally used either of these 2, but they are really, really popular yellow paint colors that aren't like over the top bright yellow, almost more creamy yellows. Tip number 8, place small lamps or tall and narrow lamps on side tables. Let's first talk about nightstands. If you have a small bedroom, our bedroom here in this house, it's not super small, but we have a king size bed, which instantly makes the bedroom feel smaller. And we did not have room for both of us to have the nightstand that was included with the set. So on my side is this really small, like 12-inch round table with a tiny little like nightlight on it. And it works. It really works in the space because it doesn't feel too big for the area. Depending on how tall your ceilings are as well, a tall, narrow lamp can also make a space feel bigger. And again, it's because it's drawing the eye upward. If you are concerned that a space feels too small, do not buy bulky lamps like the round ones. Try to get ones that look skinny. It will make the room feel bigger. Make sure that your lamps are an appropriate size for the space of the room. Tip number 9, hang an oversized mirror. Mirrors are a great reflector of light. Big ones work the best. You can hang a big one over a sofa. You can do a floor to ceiling, like a massive mirror like we have here in our sunroom. Another tip for a bedroom is a really, really big oversized mirror above a dresser. Again, they reflect a lot of light and they make a space feel much bigger. Oversized mirrors are an excellent way to make a space feel bigger, albeit not necessarily as cost effective. Let me throw that in there. Oversized mirrors can be very expensive. If you want to get super creative, you can try buying faux glass. There is such a thing. And building a frame for it. It will serve the same purpose. It's not going to look quite as authentic, but you can still create a really nice appearing mirror for relatively cheap if you want to give it a go. Tip number 10, install quarter round for baseboards. This is something that we did in the basement. So the basement ceiling in this fixer upper, unlike our second one was a newer home. It was a standard basement. It was an 8-foot ceiling. But in this house was, I think might have been 60s or 40s. I don't remember. But this basement, the ceiling height was less than 8 feet. The bottom of the rafters, I actually forget how high it is, but it's definitely less than 8 feet. So in order to give the illusion of height, we installed quarter round along the base instead of a traditional baseboard. This does make the walls appear taller because you were removing several inches of baseboard along the bottom. It really worked remarkably well. Again, you can take a look at the pictures, but consider installing quarter round in a smaller space along the bottom instead of a traditional baseboard. Tip number 11. This one's a little bit more work, but it looks amazing. Open up the ceiling. What do you mean, Anna, by open up the ceiling? Well, in this basement, again, this is what I did. By opening up the ceiling and doing an exposed joist ceiling, we added approximately 8 inches to the overall height of the ceiling. What we did is we tore out all of the insulation. If you have drywall on your basement ceiling, you can tear that out. And we exposed all of the wires, all of the joists, and we sprayed it all white. Now, for those of you really interested in the details, we put recessed like can lighting in the joists, between the joists. And then before we put the light bulbs in, we sprayed the whole thing. From a code standpoint, for anybody wondering, at least in our area, you were allowed to have exposed electric wires. They just could not run beneath the joints. So you had to drill through the joists to run any wires or run them along the inside of the joists. So as long as they're not below or they're tight up against. So you remove the insulation. Again, not as energy efficient, pros and cons to both here. And noise could also be an issue. You could consider that depending on the flooring in the space above. But in this basement, it added significant height and a sense of depth, and it makes it feel so much more open by opening up the ceiling. I also have an article on the blog, 44 basement ideas for your ceiling. A lot of people wonder, what should I do with the ceiling when they do a basement renovation? Well, I have an article on my blog that is 44 basement ceiling ideas. You definitely want to check that out. Certainly check out the pictures of this basement renovation if you want to consider the open joist look. It really is a cool look. You could also do it. You can do this in any space, really. An attic bedroom or an attic room would be another great space to do this in. Tip number 12. Use a semi-gloss paint finish. The sheen of a paint can drastically change the brightness of the finish and then ultimately of the room. Semi-gloss finishes will generally make a paint color appear lighter and brighter because it reflects more light. They are also easier to wipe down. Now, satin is sort of the standard finish for most wall paint. You will usually hear the recommendation of satin. If it is a particularly small room, however, and there is very little or no natural light, as was true in this basement and the bathroom that we built down there, I used a semi-gloss paint because it reflects more light. Again, it's also easier to wipe down in a playroom like the basement. I don't regret that choice. Interestingly, I did not pay attention when my husband and his buddy bought the paint to spray the ceiling. They got a flat paint. I would not have done that. I caught it too late. I would have definitely done a semi-gloss white paint on the ceiling as well. Again, it reflects more light. I missed that. So if you happen to notice that on the pictures, I would have done a brighter sheen on the ceiling as well. So consider a semi-gloss finish in a very small room. Tip number 13, possibly my number one tip for making a small room look bigger: lighting, lighting, lighting. Lighting is the key to giving any room that ambiance that you are looking for. There are so many creative lighting ideas, but what I specifically want to talk about right now is the idea of color temperature of light bulbs. The color temperature of a light bulb is noted by the measurement Kelvin. It is the K that you see at the end of the number on the box. So you might see, it might say 3500 K. That is noting the color temperature of the light bulb. For a large room, a really large room that gets tons and tons of natural light, maybe you want to warm it up a little bit. Warming it up means you are going to pull more yellow from the light bulb. It can help the space feel cozier, warmer. Again, it's going to pull yellow. Just be very aware of that, depending on what your paint colors are. And it is less bright. Warmer light bulbs are typically less than 3500 K. So you will see 3500 K or less. A whiter, brighter light, the brightest light bulbs, they almost have a hint of blue. Again, be conscious of that depending on the color of your paint, are typically 5000 K or more. 5000 K or more. My recommendation, my personal favorite, is what they call daylight temperature. These light bulbs range from 3500 to 5000 K. I linked on the show notes the ones that I personally recommend. These are my favorite. They are 4000 K dimmable LED light bulbs. So you've got the energy efficiency with the ability to dim the light for a more intimate gathering, or if you want to bring the lights down, make it feel a little bit cozier, you can do that. But then you have the option of going up the whole way to a 4000 K and brightening up the room considerably. It's a neutral color temperature, which is ideal. If I had to pick one or the other, I would go warmer than I would brighter. The blue LED light bulbs, to me, I feel like I'm in an institution or the hospital or something. They're too bright to me. I think 4000 is the perfect middle ground. It's a more neutral, bright white. Certainly going for LED is going to give you that energy efficiency. These particular ones that I linked are also the vintage Edison style, which is great because we have a lot of open lighting in our house. And it also gives, there's a visual aesthetic to it as well. You do not need to add square footage to a room to make it feel bigger. I hope at least one of these relatively cost-effective design ideas will help you to transform your home into a relaxing, spacious retreat. Hey guys, Anna here. If you found this video helpful, then you do not want to miss this video right here beside me on the screen. Click on it. I know you're going to enjoy it. You guys remember, you cannot be redefined, only redeveloped, one imperfect day at a time. Your story matters, and you are loved.